We still have a minute.
No, we do not.
Thank you.
Not according
Not according to the chair. All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Sunbury Council meeting. It is March 6th, 2024, 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me for a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor St. John.
Here.
Mr. Neff.
Here.
Mr. Grumney.
Here.
Mrs. Cooper. Here. Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Capel.
Here.
Ms. Strayer. Here. 7 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. We did have a meeting on February 21st, 2024. We're looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Oh, got a motion by Mrs. Cooper and a second by Mr. Martin. Any comments, edits? Roll call.
Mrs. Cooper. Yes. Mr. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.
Ms. Strayer.
Yes.
Mayor St. John.
Yes.
Mr. Neff.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney.
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, and we do have one scheduled visitor, then we'll get to unscheduled visitors. This is Andy Bolanek from the Delaware County Transit team. We invited the executive director. We initially were going to bring the president and the director, but this is their boss. This is the executive director. Andy, why don't you come up and introduce yourself and tell us what you have going on? A lot of exciting things. If you haven't met Andy, you're in for a treat.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Again, my name is Andy Bolanek. Officially, Delaware County Transit Executive Director. I'm certain I should read our address, right? I feel like I was.
You're good.
1900 Support Delaware, Ohio, 005. While Eric's getting that pulled up here, Delaware County has a transit system, a transit provider. It's easy to forget that because it's not a massive transit system, a massive transit provider. But I'm going to highlight Delaware County Transit, what it was, what it is now, and where we're looking to go in the future. And I'm gonna give you a little foreshadowing. This community is gonna be part of our future. But before we do that, it's always good to know who's talking to you. So again, I'm Andy Bolanek. This is my beautiful family. My wife is an RN at Grady. I have 3 amazing daughters, 8, 6, and 2. We're very busy, right? So we live in the city of Delaware. That's home for us. But I started my career actually as a bus operator at COA, Central Ohio Transit Authority. I graduated with very useful degrees of philosophy and geography in my section, and I had to find a job because that pretty girl you see on there, I wanted to marry her, and she wasn't going to marry no slouch, right? So I worked with CODA from 2009 to 2016, City of Columbus in the Department of Public Service from 16 to 22, and I started here at ECT October of 22. I keep meaning to change the slides, I never do, but my family is not a hobby, they're my family, they're people that can ride. But it's like just the whole thing, right? So my wife did reviewing slides, right? So just to give you a brief introduction, so we are Delaware County Transit. The 3 commissioners at the county level select our 7 board members. Some of those names may look familiar, notably our chair, Farzan Ahmed, who is the executive director for the Ohio Turnpike. And then currently we're actually up to 57 staff members, roughly 40 drivers. We're always kind of getting one and losing one throughout the year. We have 30 vehicles, and our 2023 operating budget was $4.035 million, which is actually 5.1 for this year. And then we have a 12,000 square foot facility in the southwest section in the city of Delaware, kind of its industrial district. I'm going to try and burn through some of these slides because I got some really exciting things to talk about. But it's really good to set the stage on when you think of transit, when you think of public transportation, what do you think of? Is it the London Underground? These massive systems, New York City subway. I have a twin brother who lives in Chicago. There is another one of me, I know. He lives in Chicago, the elevated rail system. Japanese bullet trains. These are all forms of mass transit. Cincinnati People Mover. You start to see there's scalable versions of this. I drove these buses when I was a bus operator at CODA, so 40-foot yellow buses. What about autonomous vehicles? Here's the good news. You have one, right? I started my whole slide with this. This is what you have today. There's roughly 50 transit agencies in the state of Ohio. Most of them look like this. Small vehicles connecting communities across rural, suburban, and quasi-urban areas. So DCT's core services, so we have two core services. There's what's called Flex, which is a microtransit service that services the city of Delaware same-day service. It's Uber-style service, right? You pull up, we have an app, you open it up, you're able to schedule a trip right there. $2 one way, and then for discounted passengers, it's $1. So $4 round trip, $2 round trip for discounted passengers. Demand response service. This is the more traditional call ahead rural service. Long ride times, medical appointments, generally speaking, subsidized trips. But you can see we have a tiered fare-based system based off of the mileage so that we can recoup appropriate operating costs. Just for the record, transit typically recoups 20% of its operating costs at the fare box. Transit, no transit system in America is fully funded by the fare box. So how did we start, right? So we were born out of necessity. Back in the late 90s, community health and human services came together and said, we need transportation. Our people can't get around, our elderly, are disabled, those who are job seeking, those who are in times of hardships, they can't get a job, they can't drive. How do we do that? So we actually had those groups come together, they funded us, we actually started a cab service, which is really funny to think, right? You think mass transit was this big thing, but it was actually individual car rides that got people around. So then we get recognized by ODOT as a rural transit agency. So these titles matter. There's gonna be a little transit nerdiness that we get into here, so you'll bear with me if I say something, pause me. But a rural transit agency is managed by ODOT. You get lots of good state money to be able to operate. It's a really good system, honestly. So in 98, data becomes the de facto transit agency. In 99, commissioners select a 7-person board for Ohio Revised Code 306.12 or something like that. 2004, the operations are no longer the capital brought in-house. You can see 2007 to 14, we continue to grow what was called a fixed route system. Fixed route system is a vehicle going up and down the street on scheduled time. That's what it means. But then 2010 census comes out and it flips the script entirely on how funding can work. So this is where people are like, why should I fill out the census? It really impacts the community and how federal funding, state funding, and how other funding mechanisms operate. We had to get inventive because all that nice kind of state managed projects and money, we can no longer access. It was federally funded and we had to get pretty inventive. We have local funding options. So we have SourcePoint, JFS. We have Medicaid services that we're able to get money from. We still can get state level funding, but it's harder to get to because we're supposed to get this nice federal funding. But all of this starts to figure out, this is how the money works to serve the community. So you can see here, so this map is intentional. So some of you have seen this map, and then the reason I want to focus on this map, I live in the city of Delaware. I'm raising my family in the state of Delaware. We're Delaware County Transit. We're not Delaware City Transit. As much as I love Delaware, and I do. But you can see the focus here. It makes sense, right? On some level, it made sense. But this is what we had. We had 5 fixed routes. At one point, we provide Saturday service. We actually had a route that came out to Sunbury. It was the purple route. We ended up cutting it because of funding issues. You see here in 16 and 19, our ridership starts to decline. We rebranded from Data, as many of you might know, to DCT, trying to fix some of these things with, well, we can do some Band-Aid fixes. And then there's that pandemic, right? So the FTA shows up and they say, hey, in order to stop the spread, you can only have so many people on your vehicles. We have 14 passenger airport shuttle style things, right, or buses. Well, we couldn't put more than 3 people on the bus. How are we going to operate? How are we going to be able to serve the public? So we went ahead and developed that flex service, that Uber style service, where you could have 1 or 2 people on, still get your service. So we completely removed this system. We got rid of all those lines on the map. We drew a big circle around the city and said, we'll service you. It's a coverage-based system. So imagine taking your order of business and saying, we're going to scrap what we've been doing for the last 20 years. We're going to do it for these things. I pray and hope it works. All right, so I left these last 2, but you can see where it starts going up, right? So you can see where we plateaued there in 15, 16, 17. We started dipping. course, the pandemic hits everybody's ridership takes. But very few transit agencies across the country, and even still to this day, are matching what they call their pre-COVID numbers, your 2019 ridership. You can see we matched it. Then in 2022, we surpassed it. And then in 2023, we're at 118,000 trips. It's the first time ever doing 100,000 trips back to back. It's a 65% increase, give or take. Again, I'm a failed philosophy major, so don't quote me on that. We're looking at doing, if we do nothing today with just the advancements that we've made, we're looking at 140,000 trips. Oh, and forgive me. From 2020 to 2023, we didn't do anything different. We didn't add new service. We didn't expand our hours. We didn't have some amazing, hey, fares are free, everybody pile on. This was the same operating model from the middle of 2020 to 2023, including today. So how do you do this? These are super basic principles, but they're ones that we weren't executing fully. Commitment to excellence. What does that mean? It means you show up and you do your job. 0 denials in 2023. There's this concept in rural and suburban transit systems where we have only so many resources. I'm sorry, Mayor, you called in late. You don't get a trip today. That's unacceptable. I have my Class B CDL. I advise staff if I have mine and I can still go out and drive, so can you. Get ready. Because if we're over that low, you better get in the vehicle and go get some. It was a simple trick. It worked. What happened? 0 denials. We have an app, I mentioned it. So it's solely for the flex service within the city of Delaware. We're working together to be a countywide. That's a couple of years in the making. Reigniting relationships with partners, getting out here in our community, sharing our story. This is how you increase ridership organically. So no slowing down. So this slide's already dated because let's see, already in 2024 we broke our single high. Here at the beginning of the year, 612 trips in a single day, 626 trips on January 5th. We had 649 trips in February, the first Friday in February. Single highest week, we've already surpassed that. We almost did 3,000 trips the week at the end of January to the beginning of February. Single highest flex week, we've already broken that record. So this is actually dated. It's only 6 weeks old, give or take, this slide. But this is the part that I want to hover on tonight for you all. So for the first time in nearly 10 years, we're expanding our service. And we're looking to provide that flex style, Uber style system within the city of Sunbury and the village of Medina. And you see the city of Delaware there. That is our backbone. That's our flagship. We're expanding our hours there. So today in the city of Delaware, we do 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or we do 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then a Saturday, 8 to 4. We're going to get to 6 to 6, but we want to figure out operations and do it right for our community. For Sunbury and Galena, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. $2 within the geographic limits of the city and the village. Now, I do want to advise that there's some logical points that we would want to grab, like the 10-year outlet mall, right? I know it's not within the city proper, but it's a logical stepping stone for us to be able to service that. We're very excited for this. So again, it's $2 one way, $1 discounted to give you kind of precursor as to what the ridership looks like. For the month of January, here in 2024, we serviced 11,872 trips. Roughly 13% of that was students. Roughly 50% of that was either for shopping or going to a job. Money making or money spent. We enjoy those things here, right? That's what we want to see in a vibrant community. 6 to 8% were for medical appointments, and then the remaining for services and kind of odds and ends, right? You're going to see similar trends with this type of service. If you look at our demand response service, 60% are for medical trips, and then more traditional. I need to get to medical appointments. Costs more, takes longer. People schedule their lives around. Uber, Uber. It's like Uber. But our microtransit service, it's something absurd, like 70% of the trips are scheduled 0 to 3 hours before they take the trip. So they're last minute. So people are, they're living life and they go, oh shoot, I need to get my ride, let me do it. Our vehicles are showing up in 5 minutes in front of them. Our ride times are in 10 minutes. So they're quick, boom, boom, we're getting in and out, right? How do we manage growth? This is the talk of the town, right? So we've launched our strategic plan. We're actually in the final stages. I have 1 or 2 more presentations to go through. And we're gonna be looking to adopt it here at our March board. Part of it is gonna say, launch microtransit service to your community. This one's kind of funny because we had to get my budget approved at the end of last year for my strategic plan's dragging. So we said, this is what we're doing. So where do we go, right? This is part of the question, right? So where were we, where are we now, where do we go? It's becoming clearer as we solidify our strategic plans. It's becoming clearer as we see communities continue to grow. Delaware, Sunbury, the Southern Third. Here's what I know is that I've been in this space for roughly 15 years. I've never met professionals like this. I get to work with some of the most talented transit professionals in the state, in my humble opinion. So wherever we need to go, we got you. And our data is proving that. Our operations are proving that. And I'm open to any questions or comments.
Executive Director, I've always appreciated your passion and your vision. I know you and I'll call you if I have questions, but I wanted to open it up to the council.
Please.
How many vehicles do you have?
Currently 30.
When you say you want to service Sunbury and Galena, would that just be us? It would stay out here or would it make the big loop?
It's a good question. So the big loop, forgive me, but what do we mean by the big loop?
Delaware, does it?
So I would call that phase 2, right? So today, if somebody, and we do have some dedicated Sunbury providers. Today, if somebody from Sunbury wanted to go into the heart of Delaware for a medical appointment or the public health district, we'll pick a logical thing. They have to spend $8. Today, that's what they would do. When we launch the service, that's what they're still going to do at this moment. But I would pause and say, that's a logical next step to say, if you're in a flex zone here and you're in a flex zone here, you spend an extra, we give you a surcharge or an upcharge of $1, something like that, to make it a little bit worth the travel time. But we haven't figured that quite out yet because we've never done this. That one that we did out of necessity from the pandemic for the city of Delaware, this is our first new zone that we're doing. So it's a testing ground for us. I'm being very candid. But we've already been thinking, what does this start to look like if we send a bus over here and then we send a bus over there? How do we want to manage that? That's why I don't want to commit to saying yes, and I plan right now today. But we're going to be looking at the data and seeing what that looks like. Don't be surprised in 2025 we have some recommendation for what that is.
And your Uber style,
Yes, ma'am.
is it personal cars or how would that work?
Great question. So today we have 14 to 16 passenger, they call them LCTs, I think is the actual style. They're like an airport shuttle. Think of it that way, right? We're right sizing our fleet. We actually just received roughly $1 million from ODOT to go buy 6 passenger transit vans, 6 passenger seated transit vans. And at the March board, we're purchasing. So we want to get to smaller, more nimble, right size. The challenge is we are public transit. So if we have ambulatory and non-ambulatory passengers, we have to accommodate all. We cannot discriminate there. But we are looking at having that be our core and then smaller vehicles kind of for our more nimble areas and still maintain some large vehicles for events or, hey, it's a busy day, we just need one, right? So we're looking at diversifying our fleet.
How are you marketing the expansion of service so that folks in Sunbury and Galena know what's coming?
Yeah, so today's step 1, right? So step 2 is we just finished finalized executing a contract with a company called Hunter Marketing, who works in transit specifically. You'll be seeing a big push coming here as we look to launch it. We are looking in September, October to launch your service. We were able to secure an operating grant from ODOT to assist for this launch. We're really excited because we got roughly 90% of our ask for it. So really, I mean, it's really good for us. We want to get through expanding those hours with the city of Delaware, make our wounds, and then get ready to service you and your community. But again, you're looking probably September, October.
Is it going to cost us?
Is it going to cost you? That's a great question. It'll cost the passengers. So,
That's good.
yeah, so yeah, at this structure, we are currently almost solely federal. Sorry.
Are you working on anything that will transport Delaware County residents to hook up with CODA, for example?
That's a really great question, and I appreciate that comment, Councilmember. I would advise that we are. I want to be careful with my words, right? We need to serve our community first. Now, getting in and out of other counties, that's absolutely part of an organic and natural transit and transportation ecosystem. You're absolutely right. However, CODA's, so I just shared with you, my budget is a whopping $5 million. CODA sales tax receipts is over 200 million. So I would be advising that my big brother to the south would help us in some of those conversations.
Yeah.
I don't know that's inherently my responsibility to service in and out. Let me handle the inside our four walls first,
Mhm.
develop a robust and consistent network, and then we work with those partnerships to really create a regional system. But that's easier said than done. CODA retracted a lot of its express service, they minimized a lot of that service, and a lot of people aren't going out to the periphery as much anymore. So much work from home, so much more that kind of urban forest staying within 270, the suburban communities are kind of taking care of themselves. And these travel patterns are still being seen, they're still kind of being unveiled today. We're only really 3.5 years away from kind of the height of it, almost 4 years, honestly. It's still being unveiled today, but it looks like till the post-pandemic travel.
Yeah.
So I would advise, we're gonna build our system because we haven't done that yet, and then we work next to Banner County travel.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, great question, thank you.
I don't know if mine's so much of a question, but rather just a comment. So I think this is fantastic. I mean, I've been a Delaware resident most of my life, and I think one of the biggest hurdles for something like this is just awareness, right? People even aware that it exists. And I mean, I think obviously this is a great step talking to council. And I think like, you know, partnerships with the school, partnership with nursing homes, partnerships with you know, other community leaders and those sorts of things. And, you know, I'm just thinking about the marketing side of it, like, you know, new residents moving in have no idea something like this exists. So is there something new residents could get as they join the community? Look, this is services within your area. So,
No,
yeah.
Again, I appreciate those comments. You're absolutely right, right? People, I'll go around and I'm the executive director of Delaware County Transit, be like, what?
Yeah.
But alas, I appreciate that sentiment. So I would share that, you know, we're roughly 5 to 8 years behind probably where we should be, right? And so I'm playing catch, right? The mayor appreciated the comments about the energy I need it because I gotta play catch up. I got a couple years worth of work to get us out there to feel like we're meeting the moment, right? But that's why you contract out marketing with an expert that knows this space.
Yeah.
Yeah, good comment. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Will you have a hub in Sunbury where you'll keep the vehicles on the off hours, or will they?
You all are asking amazing questions. These are things that we press.
Yeah.
So in the immediate, no, right? Because it's a capital investment that we would have to do. And currently, we're not funded in a way that would be appropriate to execute that, right? So what we would look to do is after a few years, look to have a hub out here, whether it's on a rail station, whether it's a partnership with a private entity, there's options on the table. But I would absolutely agree that as we see the development going east, because there's that little intel thing that's happening just on the other side, it is prudent to say this can become an anchor for us and that we would have to do that, just for resource management.
Along those same lines, like I don't know what the laws or rules allow, but are you allowed to say like Uber, almost like subcontract out? So if there was residents in Sunbury that wanted to work as maybe a subcontractor or whatever for the transit, you know, to say, hey, we'll cover this area.
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's I would share this, that there is numerous ways they can.
Mhm.
And there are a few agencies that run a model that you're referencing actually here in the state.
Okay.
I would say that they are very unique. And they have some amazing travel patterns that they're incurring to service their communities. For an agency like ours, for the control and operational controls that we want to have.
Yeah.
It makes sense to be consistent today, but it's absolutely something that we've thought of.
Mm.
If you wish to do your homework on it, the agency is called SEEK, Southeastern Area Transit. My dear friend, Mr. Howard, I call him the great wizard of the Southeast. He's doing some amazing things, but he's also running 4 counties.
Yeah.
And they're also driving to Cleveland. And I'm like, we need to handle it today.
Yeah.
So I hear you.
Yeah.
It's a model like that. We're
Okay.
using contracts. All SBA guidance.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right?
Okay.
For branding awareness, for county resources, to call it Delaware County Transit and serve it as such with staff
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense today.
Gotcha.
But I hear that.
Thank you.
There's different ways to do it.
Sure,
Absolutely.
sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Has the flex zone been defined yet? like clearly?
So clearly that's a good question. I actually just messaged our vendor. So our vendor is Via Transportation. That's the software as a service that we're using. We're starting to really delineate what it is, but I would share this. It's the city limits of Sunbury. So your westernmost limit, which I believe is west of 71. So your northern, southern, and your eastern. Perfect. And so we would service that. And then with Galena, we're going to service in, and that actually can get some interzone travel there. Give us some little, to council members' question, give us some training rounds on how to do interzone travel. But they're neighbors, so
Right.
we share with everyone.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You accomplish a lot with this. I don't think this is a very big group. You guys accomplish a lot.
I'm privileged to have some of the best staff members and some of the best transit professionals here in the state. Absolutely.
What better guy for the job? Thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Look forward to partnering with you. And as you refine your marketing material, I think what Mr. Capel was saying, we'd love to help you.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be bugging your state administrator. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right, are there any unscheduled visitors who would like to speak with City Council? All right, we are on the committee reports. Ms. Dreyer.
As far as we had a service committee today and we went over the parks and some of the pathways that will be designed to eventually interconnect all the pathways and other than some minor changes, it's a very good thing for our city, and it'll be a nice attraction, and they're nice paths and just some minor adjustments, but that is all in the making and it's good.
Thank you very much. Mr. Grumby.
I'm gonna pass to the chair on the service committee, so.
Do you want me to cover planning and zoning, or would you like to?
Oh, you better. You better.
You can get him
I
back
forgot
next
about
month,
that. I was in Florida last week, so. Yeah.
I've heard that excuse a couple of
Yeah,
times.
I know. It worked the first time. My, yes, okay. Yeah, I probably would prefer. Okay, all right, thank you. My apologies. My goodness. Okay, yes, take it away, Dana, please.
Mr. Capel.
Yeah, now you guys all went and throw me. Yeah, so in the services committee, as Mr. Dreyer said, we were talking about, Mr. White had presented some, information on Magnolia Park and Price Ponds, and the Legacy Trail connection. Basically reviewing some drainage options for some of the wetlands we have in the area, as well as a proposed footbridge over top of a particularly problematic area. We asked to continue to work with the developer on going back and improving the plan so that we can hopefully accomplish a little more of a long-term solution to the trail problem in the area. Also, we revisited Sunbury Estates trees, which is becoming a recurring event. But we do have a bid in now to remove 28 of the trees, might be some added on later. And we've also got a scope of work together for concrete repairs in the estates to repair the damage done to the sidewalks as a result of the trees. And we'll be out looking for bids soon. And those are the highlights from services.
Thank you. Would you like to do planning and zoning?
No, I would not.
Just kidding. That's super.
I'm actually gonna defer. Murray's gonna give the parks update tonight
Great. Mr. White.
and.
I don't have any.
All right, great. Mr. Neff.
That's all.
Yes, you have the parks update from tonight. We did go over some of the events that are happening, the Eagle Adventure Camp, this summer, several weeks running. That'll be June and July, I think mainly. We have the Easter egg hunt on March 23rd at 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Olentangy Disc Golf Glow Tournament, 3 to 11 p.m. So it's a late night party at the disc golf. And then the solar eclipse, we did touch on that. That will be starting at 10 a.m., I believe. There'll be some events that are running until around 11-ish, I think, and they're going to be shut down to kind of prepare for the solar eclipse. We have around 800 glasses prepared to go out to people right now, and police are highly involved with that to make sure the traffic leaving the park is going to, smoothly. We also talked about multiple parts of the updates, mainly focusing on Old Orchard, which is the area, correct me if I'm wrong, close to Wee, right? Or no, right off the square.
Yeah.
There were some trees that were tagged to be removed, but not many. 10 trees, I think, were red tagged. There were some that were blue. And we were talking about putting a nice little trail in there. Still is what's going to be the trail. If it's going to be pavement, mulch, whatever it may be, that's still up for discussion, but there'll be kind of like a little circle with 2 exits coming out, so you can go through and enjoy Old Orchard Park in a different capacity. Other than that, that's all we have.
We might add that the Easter egg hunt is gonna be at General Rosecrans Elementary School.
We have to find it.
That's a good point, yeah.
All right, we did have a planning and zoning commission meeting last week. There were 2 informal presentations given. The first one, the commission spent the most time on. It was a 45-minute dialogue with a landowner that owns property. It's commercial property. I think it's about 6 acres on State Route 3, Sunbury Meadows Drive, located at the front end of communities at Sunbury. Some of the things that were proposed, I thought the landowner did a good job talking about the history of that property and how it was zoned, and it had changed hands, and then the pandemic, and it had gone in and out of contract. They had proposed a couple specific businesses. One was Valvoline. They actually had a Valvoline oil representative here. They also had proposed a Circle K, which I think the commission probably spent the most time questioning, like access, right use, buffering, noise, lighting. And again, this was an informal presentation. Since that time, I know that there's been significant concern around the Circle K in particular, and I've received feedback. I know several of you have probably received questions. I think there's an online petition against gasoline stations and ban them all, but definitely ban this one. But we are receiving that feedback. I wanted you to know. So this is a process. I mean, that's the point of these informal presentations, is to receive, not only feedback from what the landowner wants to do, but from the Planning and Zoning Commission's perspective and from the residents. So I believe that staff has been actively involved, providing feedback, letting them know the pulse of the community around this particular development, and has been doing that regularly since the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. So that was that one. And then we spent about 5 minutes on a 700-acre annexation for a brand new limited industrial district that we've never zoned anything for. So that's how the meeting went overall. But overall, very good meeting. And you'll see in the zoning report, zoning permits are just slightly down versus last year. With that said, I'd like to hand it to the Chief of Police.
Thank you, Mayor.
Police report.
We met today about the eclipse. We also spoke a little about the first item of the GIS mapping. I don't know if you was able to get anything from Alex there, or.
Yeah, I did talk to, so this is an item where we're trying to implement or trying to add to our GIS system some speed data information. So Alex is coordinating a meeting with CT for me to kind of get up to speed on where we are. So yeah, so we'll have a much more thorough update, I think, at the next meeting.
I think the best I can take it now is we figured out a way to set the map, set the locations up. It's just getting the information to be able to pull up the locations. So that's what we're working on that. The construction at the PD, that's looking awesome at the new building. The 5 of you that came down, if you would go back and look now, you wouldn't recognize it compared to what it was when you look. So I urge you within the next week or so, if you want to kind of watch that transition, to stop back by and just take a look at it. Our sergeants posting, we wanted to put up March 8th. We were able to get that through, approved. The mayor was good with it. The FOP was good with it. And we posted that Monday. So it went up Monday. It comes down on the 18th, I believe. So we have that process underway. The training officers hit me up a few times about the in-house training that I've spoke with Cooper about and a couple other council members. I just need to find out if that's something you want me to continue trying to plan or if we want to let that go.
Yeah, I think we should try to do that. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me that. And so I had tasked Alyssa with doing that, but I think she's sorting through the site visits first. So she will be reaching out, doing some kind of the same type of thing we did for that site visit, just try to assess the interest of council members. To participate in that. So she's going to take the lead on getting that organized with PD.
One way we were able to, this is gonna make it sound bad, navigate sunshine laws, so we're not all working together, but everybody can take advantage of it. More or less, we kind of scheduled people, in 15-minute increments. So, it's like 1 or 2 council members are staging, another one's actually participating in the training, and then that person goes home. For those of you who participate, I think that's how we did it in the past. So that's an option, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
As Mr. Neff spoke, we met about the eclipse today, came up with some pretty decent ideas. We're gonna try and meet with EMS and fire next week to finish up some questions that we all had with that. And I won't sit and read all these stats, but if anybody has any questions on the stats, I did up the first 2 months of this year compared to 2023, just so you have a comparison there. So if anybody has any questions, I would answer those.
I really like this. Thank you for your time in putting this together. To start looking at comparatively where we stand over last year, so you can see if any trends rising, and kind of be a little nosy too if we want to. So I like it. Thank you.
Any questions for Chief? I haven't had a lot of chance to talk to you about the eclipse. What is the overall plan for the eclipse from the city's perspective? I heard Murray reference it. I've seen some documents, but just wanted to make sure council, as we're approaching this, has a chance to weigh in on what's going on here.
Yeah, so I'll take it, and Amber, you can fill it in if you want, if I miss anything important. So the planning is around a low-key, family-oriented event to allow people a place to view the eclipse. The location is Freedom Park, and basically we do have some partners who have indicated a willingness to kind of be there to assist. One is the Lions. They're going to be there to do a kids event. The other 2, I think, are churches, and they're just going to help bring yard games or whatever. So no inflatables, no kind of not that level of activity. The messaging really is, if you want to see the eclipse, you can come out to Freedom Park, bring your a picnic, lunch, bring a blanket, we'll provide the space. So what we're working through then with PD and others is basically just trying to manage the traffic that arrives, manage them both in and out. And then with emergency services, obviously, to just make sure that they're aware of the event. And if they want to have a presence, which we think they probably will, where we stage them. We will have, I think, as people have indicated, we have 800 glasses that we'll bring to the event and help distribute to families that attend. PD has some additional glasses as well, and they've got a strategy about distributing those too. Beyond that, I don't know, is there much more? I mean, and maybe that's a good segue to my report, which I'm going to say. The only thing I was going to add is that the totality of the eclipse in our area is 1 minute and 30 seconds or something like that. I mean, ours is probably not the ideal viewing site for somebody who wants to experience the full eclipse. You've got to go a little bit north of us to see that. I don't know that we anticipate, hard to know the number of people that will be there. I think we're kind of speculating 300-ish. Who knows? Yeah, and the other thing I guess I was going to say is that the church, and I can't remember which church that is. That's Grace.
Or Sunbury has donated their parking.
Yeah, I was going to say they're going to make their parking lot available for cars to park there as well. So we anticipate we're parking there. We're parking in the back portion down near the the disc golf area. Because think that there's a good viewing space down at that end of the park as well. And then the green space again is available for people to view the event. Yeah, beyond that, I think that's what's being discussed from.
I guess the only concern that I have around Freedom Park, and I know that this is already on the track, is ingress, egress.
Yep.
And the amount of parking and really the type of parking, especially
Mhm.
if we have any weather.
Yep.
Or anything like that. I assume you're I mean, if we're having 300 cars, I've never seen back there have 300 cars. If we had 100, I think that's more than I've ever seen, and that's packed. So I just wanted to open it up. Chief, you and I haven't talked a lot about it. I know you're kind of all hands on deck that particular day, but it seems like traffic management at Freedom Park would be 3-4 officers, including
Yeah,
on site.
everyone that's working that day, we're gonna put on 12-hour days. We've not allowed any permissive time off on that day. We're probably gonna try and post maybe 3 spots for overtime from maybe 2 to 6, somewhere in there. We've talked about, and this depends on the crowd. If you get a lot of cars in there like they're expecting, we want to use our electric sign that we have, put that at the exit, and when you leave Freedom Park, you have to go north. There's gonna be people that's not gonna like that, but if we bring people out and we try and send them to 61 to 3, there's not enough area there. It's gonna be blocked up. It's just gonna bottleneck the city. So if we can send people out and let them go Blaney Road and find their way back in, that'll give traffic time to do what it needs to do. And if we don't have a big turnout and it rains and we can't put a bunch of cars in there, then we can just we'll get them out and direct the traffic there and get them where they need to be.
All right, any other questions on Eclipse comments?
Time is the total, the
So
totality.
it's in the packet.
I know, but.
Totality
Afternoon.
is
The max viewing area is only like
Is at
4 or 5.
312.
So I mean, if we have a minute and a half.
Yeah,
we're
it's
on
a minute and a half, yeah.
Yes. So totality is at approximately, well, not approximately, it's exactly 3:12 PM in the afternoon on the 8th. April.
It's like 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock is when
Yeah, it'll begin.
going away.
Yeah,
and the sun
total
comes down.
totality for a minute and a half. And then it'll, start to dissipate.
We did ask Alyssa to take very detailed notes so that in another couple 100 years, when this happens again, they'll know how we handled it
Got
and
it.
how we can improve next time.
All right. Sounds good.
I know you like to plan ahead.
That's good. Thank you, Chief. All right, we are on to the administrator report. Mr. Hennessy.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that I would add that we haven't already talked about. So unless there are questions.
Any questions? All right, Mr. Whited, engineers report.
Yeah, highlights, I have 4, 5, 6 of them, or so. I wanted to, I won't go over all the details, but of course, you are more than welcome to ask me questions. I did want to mention that the, Walnut Street project, we confirmed with FEMA that we can do a design build style project, which is probably appropriate if we can pull it off of that project, which is kind of such a niche type of niche type of project with soil nailing. We'll have to work that out with house, make sure that works with the city charter and because I'm not sure that I'll talk to you about that. So I'll keep you up to date with that. We have talked with a contractor who is well versed in it. We talked with him all along. We got the grant, so I think he's well qualified. With the Little Walnut Creek Interceptor and the ancillary issues that go along with that, which i.e. will likely have some impacts on the golf course, the Dominican Road, just because it's very deep sewer. The excavation involved will impact the roadway. We had a meeting with Delaware County engineer to see if we would support maybe some assistance with repairing the road, and he indicated that he would. So we have some collaboration, coordination with the county in that project, which was very So it's very good to know, very positive indication, and we will continue to keep you updated on that as we move forward. At our services committee, we talked about the stormwater legislation that we're putting forward, and we have that very far along, and found out today that part of the backbone of that legislation is what is being updated. That's the rainwater lane development manuals put out by the Ohio EPA is being updated, and may have some impact on what we have inside that legislation. So we may have to go back and recraft a little bit of it. Probably will improve definitely improve the what's in the legislation, but we'll take some time to do that and make sure we follow. That's what I think. So it's down in the usage. So looking forward to seeing what that is and integrating into it. We talked about tank only in the price bonds, the trail situation. We're going to go back and enhance that a little bit more with what they proposed, but it is good to see that moving forward with Legacy Trail and the connections between price bonds and Magnolia to Legacy Trail. Have a few little more minor adjustments to it and see that moving forward. Also, kind of seeing some improvement on erosion and sediment control issues that are happening there with the individual lot. Best management practices and as well as the on-site. Continue to see that move forward, especially as we integrate some of this legislation that will be forthcoming. And lastly, I wanted to just briefly touch upon the fact that we are working to do, I wouldn't specifically call it a thoroughfare plan, but we are looking at, as we should be, along with our efforts at refining our zoning plan and looking at our long-term utility planning and just all those things, comprehensive planning and going to the communities as progressive as Sunbury is and the impacts of that growth pressures that we're having to take a long-term look at thoroughfare planning to make the most practical and effective long-term thoughts is whether we should have roadway connections primarily inside the community, but as we continue to potentially grow, whether those connections may be outside of the community, whether we make them or somebody else did, to work with other stakeholders to do that. So we're just taking a look at that to make sure we'll take forward and keep you up to date on it as well.
Is the services committee the first landing spot for that? Is that what you envision? Or a traffic working group or?
Well, I think we started talking about it in the traffic working group, and I think that the next progression is to bring it to the services committee. I think we just need to be careful about how we approach that because we don't.
Yeah, I understand.
So absolutely, yes. I'm happy to do that. I think that along with the trails, as we mentioned earlier, are sort of symbiotic, do those together.
Right.
So we're focusing on all types of mobility, including what we talked about earlier with the transit.
There's ways to do it. I mean, the way not to do it is the way that ODOT did the Route 23, rollout where they took like 20-mile strips of land and, cities thought they were going to be wiped out by a connection from State Route 61 to Interstate 71 or Route 23. So, okay. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Whiting?
Yeah.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we are on to resolutions. We have first reading, resolution number 2024.01. Resolution as required by Ohio Revised Code 709.023C, setting forth municipal services that will be provided to 298.398 plus or minus acres of land in Trenton Township, Delaware County, Ohio, if annexed to the city of Sunbury, Ohio. Mr. Breen, would you mind just laying out the foundation for this particular resolution and the requirement for action?
We've seen a few of these over the past few years. This is another one. It's they call it a type 2 annexation where all of the landowners in the area requesting to be annexed have signed a petition. They filed the petition with the clerk of the county commissioner's office, and then they deliver it to us. We're required under law within 20 days of receipt to pass a resolution for services. This is not that we are
accepting the annexation, we're required to say what services we would be able to provide if this property was annexed. So this is off the east side, an extension of the past two annexations that have been filed. So the services resolution is substantially similar because our services that we provide out that way will be substantially similar. But this does require passage tonight. As I said, this is the start of the process. It will go forward to the county commissioners. Well, they will consider it and potentially approve it. If they do, it's going to come back to you for more consideration and potential approval at that time. But tonight is just strictly what services can we provide? And we're required to pass this.
Yeah, and there is a map for those that shows you where the 300 acres are located. Package page number, I don't have the packet page numbers. Packet page 59.
It's on the south side of Vans Valley Road.
Yep.
Adjacent to the recently annexed property, 298.398 acres. Two different property owner groups. Okay,
Correct.
all right, so we do need a suspension of the rules, no emergency.
Motion to suspend the
We
rules.
got a motion to suspend the
What
rules.
page did you say the map was on?
59,
Oh, I thought it said 69. I'm thinking, man,
not on your packet.
yeah.
Do have a motion on the table by Mr. Capel on a suspension.
Second.
Second by Mr. Neff. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Grumney?
Yes.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
Mr. Ayer?
Yes.
7 yeas.
Motion on resolution number 2024.01.
Got a motion on the resolution.
Second.
Second by Mr. Neff, motion made by Mr. Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Mr. Neff?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Grumney?
Yes.
Mr. Ayer?
Yes.
Mayor St. John?
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right. We are on to ordinances. First readings, ordinance number 2024.01.1. First amended and ordinance amending the 2024 annual appropriations. Do not believe we need action. The explanation is actually listed in the ordinance. But if you wanted Miss Stefan, if anybody had any questions for her, she is in the audience. Any questions? Just a first reading? Do you need action tonight?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. We are on to doing unfinished business. We do have OpenGov cloud-based permit software. I want to say we've talked about this in at least 3 or 4 meetings, and we do have a proposal that is good, effective April 1st. And we've got pricing back. Do you want to provide an update?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we had talked about this, I think at the finance committee meeting, we agreed we would bring it forward for council consideration this evening. I would say let's, if there's an approval contingent upon final legal review, I know Mr. Bream has marked up the master services agreement, so we've got a few things we need to clean up with them, but what you haven't.
And actually, as an update, they've approved those, my suggested changes.
Have they? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So
good.
we've
There you
had
go.
legal review, they approved my suggested changes and it's ready for action.
Beautiful. So, and Dana, help me out a little bit with this. So the proposal that you see in front of you, it's the 29,500. That is the one-time expense. And then there is the annual service or the annual, software licensing fee with another 18,000. So just want to make sure you know what we're asking for.
Yes, that's accurate.
Yep.
I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, and you did get a little bit of follow-up from the finance committee meeting. There were a couple of questions raised. I don't know if you wanted to share a reaction.
Responded to your email, so if you've seen those or if you haven't seen those, you can see your email and answers to your questions. So if you have questions to that, just feel free to respond to me directly.
Any questions or comments? I think what staff and staff in general is saying, we've got the runway or the ball's in our court. So if, I guess if there are any other questions, or if you haven't had a chance to see the responses, and those were critical items for a decision for you based on the finance committee meeting that we had, then we would wait. But if your concerns have been addressed and following, at least what I'm picking up, I think they're putting down is they're looking for an approval.
I think we're ready for action.
I'm ready to make a motion, so.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Martin,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Grumney. Discussion, any discussion on the matter? Questions on?
I just want to say I appreciate all the homework and it definitely seems like the Open Gov is the right fit. It seems like from what you provide, from what we've been able to read, it seems like a higher quality product. Here's the reason why it's a little more expensive, but I think it'll expand with the city and provide services that we may not know we need now, but will in the future. And with experienced staff having had used it before, I think this is the right choice.
Okay, just one thing I do want to mention, I think these are two are dependent on one another. You will need the annual appropriations next meeting so we can issue payment.
Yeah, we can still, approve this to get going. I don't have an invoice or this is a quote. I don't think it was pulled up. If you didn't pay them right away.
All right, great. Got a motion and a second, looking for a roll call.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mr. Capel,
Yes.
Ms. Strayer,
Yes.
Mayor St. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
7 yeas.
All right, we are on to new and unfinished business. Mr. Neff.
Nothing to report.
All right, Mr. Martin,
What he said.
Ms. Cooper.
Oh, I just wanted to say that we had a really nice event Monday night with the Rotary Club in the Harlem Wizards game. We had a couple police officers there that we had hired for the event, and then some other police officers stopped by. Fire department stopped by. I saw school board members there. I saw youth coaches there. It was a really great event, and I don't know how much money the auction, what's it called? The silent auction. I'm not sure how much money that brought in for the Allie Anderson Foundation, but I do know the raffle brought in over $900. It was a nice community event. So thanks to everyone who came.
And the guy that won the silent auction or the raffle or
50-50
the 50-50 donated the winning
Yep.
into the alley.
on the
Yeah.
spot, like.
Yeah.
The amount
Immediately.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's how we ended up getting so
Yeah.
much. So he would have won 400 and some.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, and he immediately gave it right back. So it was touching. I felt like
Yeah.
it was touching.
Me too.
Which countered the referee immediately
Yeah.
trying to throw out the superintendent of Big Walnut.
Oh, yeah. I did do
felt
that.
That was a working future.
They were all lined up out there, and right off the bat, they introduced me. I ran out and gave McLean a technical. That's right.
It was a fun community event, so thank you.
Making plans.
That wasn't. Mr. Capel.
Nothing here.
All right, Mr. Grumman.
Nothing.
Ms. Strayer.
I did get the chance to go to the Ohio Municipal League meeting and really met some great people from other cities that surround us. We've got a lot of connections really close to us. And something that they brought up, which I thought maybe we could look into in the future to make some money for our city, is the hotel motel tax. I need to find out a little bit more about that, but there's a couple hotels out at the freeway and we need to maybe capitalize on that. So it'd be worth finding out more about.
Thank you. Yeah. Staff can provide us with an update. We do have a hotel tax. Unfortunately, we don't have a hotel.
Out the freeway.
That's.
They're not in the city limits though. Yeah, so
We're
we're waiting on that. We've actually worked with some developers who'd like to get one. We actually enacted that tax.
About 5 years ago.
It's been a while. It's on the shelf waiting.
Yeah, we're calling people. We call the Marriott.
Oh, yeah, some.
No, that's a good
So
idea.
You know, and with the Sunbury Parkway plan, which again, I think we anticipate bringing a presentation at the next meeting, that would be an eligible use in some of those areas. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? The future might be bright for that.
That's good. Anything else, Ms. Schrader?
Nope, thank you for sending me.
Oh,
Right.
that's actually still a little bit of my thunder. I wanted to recognize you for
Oh.
attending the Ohio Municipal League new elected official conference. Several of us have attended that and seen a lot of value out of it. I was really excited when you shared that with me that you went. I know you're also going to the Morpsey State of the Region, I believe,
Yes.
next week with some of us. That's another great event. And then the last thing that I wanted to recognize Ms. Strayer for was there was a typo in a letter that we had received recently, and she caught it, nobody else. And we were able to get that recirculated and added to your packet. You may have seen just a different version of that letter, but thank you very much for your attention to
Good
detail.
deal.
And also,
To serve the city.
and also, and the pre-work that you're doing. I've had the chance to meet with Mr. Ayer several times before our council meetings to talk about the nuance and the history and council prep, and she's dove in head first. So thank you. I appreciate that. With that said, we're just over an hour. Felt a little bit longer with Andy's presentation, but I'm going to make a motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. Neff. Discussion? Roll call.
Mayor St. John,
Yes.
Mr. Neff,
Yes.
Mr. Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Grumney,
Yes.
Ms. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Capel.
Yes.